Namaste. Aloha. My name is Janapati Das, and we are going to continue tonight with our reading of the Krishna book as translated by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Please accept my respects. Remember to like and subscribe and comment on my videos and share as well. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, Jagat Guru, Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Srila Prabhupada, and of course His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And thank you for joining tonight. Let's start by doing some chanting. Okay, and you know how this goes. Vasari Gaur Haribo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So welcome back again for another Krishna reading. As you recall from the story that we started on the syamataka jewel, the very wonderful story, of course, and King Satyajit, who was a king, who was a worshiper of the sun god Vivishvan. Sun god has many names also, just like Krishna, but maybe not as many. But one is Vivishvan, another one is Surya, and he was a worshiper of the sun god. And so because of the friendship that he struck up with the demigod of the sun, the King Satyajit was awarded the temporary, syamataka jewel, which was this wonderful jewel that was so bright and brilliant that anyone who wore it seemed to be the sun god himself. And that's what he did. He came to Dwarka to, show off his opulence. And of course, the syamataka jewel has also produced something like 20 pounds of gold every day. So it was very materially opulent. But as we all know, everything is, as it said in the Sri Upanishad, is owned and controlled by the Supreme Lord. And we should understand our allotted amount. In other words, we don't try, as Srila Rupa Goswami would say, not to over-endeavor for material things. The things that we receive from Krishna are karmically already kind of laid out, either good or bad, and we just take our dependency on Krishna regardless. So of course Satyajit came to, and so everyone thought that he was the sun god. So they went to Krishna and said, "Oh, the sun god is here to see you," and Krishna was kind of laughing because he knew it wasn't. And I said, "No, that's King Satyajit." And so he of course he went to go see Satyajit, and he said, everything of value, and when you come to a kingdom, you should give your gifts to the king. That was a Vedic standard. And King Ugrasena, who was the grandfather of Krishna, our great grand uncle, or one of in relation to family, right? According to materially, was actually the father. He was the father of King Kamsa, right? And King Kamsa had put him in jail and taken over the kingdom when he was around. So when King Ugrasena was released by Krishna and Balaram, he was installed back into the kingdom of the Yadu dynasty, right? So he's saying you should give this wealth to King Ugrasena, and King Satyajit was like, "What, are you kidding me? This is like, I'm gonna install it in a temple and worship it." And it's the typical of like worshippers of demigods or Lord Shiva. They like to worship their material wealth, and there's many living entities who are in positions karmically of power or of great wealth who like to worship their own wealth. The Jeff Bezos and I can't think of the other guy's name, but these guys that have all this wealth and billionaires and the Elon Musks and or they're great dictators, and they usurp all the powers, right? So this is kind of like seen in this way that they worship their own wealth. In other words, I was just actually watching a short video about Turkestan, I think it's the country it's this country that had indigenous people that lived there, and then the Soviet Union usurped it when they came into power, and they took over all these countries, and they basically built the city, but the dictators that they were putting in these countries and like became leaders later were like, these were very much like these King Satyajits. They had gold statues of themselves. They built these great wealthy cities, and but it's funny because it actually turned out that it was poorly done, or in cases of people don't really want to go to Turkestan, so you have this $2.3 billion airport that was built, and it's only used at its 10% capacity. So, it's just typical of the stupidity of these demonic people. Anyway, so the point is, we know from the story that he would not give the gem. And so what happened was he had his brother take it and show it off by taking it around on a horse. And while he was out, a lion attacked him and killed him, and took the jewel or whatever, had the jewel. And then the gorilla king Jambavan, who was a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra, heard about this and killed the lion, and he didn't think much of the jewel, so he gave it to his son. So of course, when the brother didn't come back, or they heard word that he was killed, Satyajit started spreading false rumors about Krishna being the one who killed the brother because he wanted the jewel so badly. And even though there was no real proof of that, it was just in his mind. Satyajit was very envious. As typical demons go, or typical people who are fooled by the material energy, thinking that this is mine, and this person took this, and this person is my enemy, therefore this kind of thing happened. So one of the four defects of the human defects is that not only are we cheated, but we're illusioned, by our own minds and by things around us. We're not all powerful, so we become illusioned. So this is what happened to Satyajit. He became illusioned, started spreading false rumors, and it got back to Krishna, and Krishna was like, well, I don't really like this, so I'm going to go find out myself to just clear this whole scene. So he went with a bunch of people, went to the cave, found the dead body of the brother, and saw the lion, saw basically the situation, and came to a conclusion that Jambavan had the jewel. So he went to the cave of Jambavan, and he came in about a point where the child was playing with the jewel, and a nurse who was taking care of the child saw Krishna and cried out because he thought, oh, she's going to take the jewel. And of course Jambavan came out mad, and because he was in this really angry state, he didn't recognize his former master, which is, Bhaktivedanta made this point, that one of these things of anger oftentimes clouds our judgment, spiritual judgment of things. Lust, greed, anger, envy, avarice, all these kind of things. You have these in the Bible, the 7 deadly sins, and some of those are also in there, wrath or anger, lust, and so similar kind of things. So how it's considered evil because it just inhibits your spiritual progress. So anyway, so Jambavan and Krishna had a fight, and of course Krishna oftentimes has his devotee engage in service by fighting with him, because he's a chivalrous kind of supreme personality of Godhead. So they had a fight, and then they fought for 28 days straight, and Jambavan was just getting wiped out. He was just thought nobody was winning, but he was just getting, and he was like, oh, finally had this realization, and that's where we left off. So now we're gonna continue on, and I think I just broke my glasses, but hopefully they'll be okay enough to read. So continuing on, I give a real long synopsis there of that. And so Jambavan therefore said to the Lord, my dear Lord, I can now understand who you are. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, the source of everyone's strength, wealth, reputation, beauty, wisdom, and renunciation. So Krishna has all these opulences, the 6 opulences in full, right? We have here strength, wealth, reputation, beauty, wisdom, and renunciation. So, there are many living entities in the world who have some of these things. Some are very strong. You have these wrestlers or MMA fighters who have really, really strong strengths, or you have Jeff Bezos who has a lot of money, and then reputation, famous people, movie stars or pop. But they don't always have, they may have a little bit of beauty, they may have a little wealth, but they don't have all these things, and they definitely don't have all these things in full. Whereas Krishna has all of these things in full. He is the source of everyone's strength. That's why he says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the ability in man, right? I'm the ability in man. That's one thing he says. Krishna is the source of all things. This statement of Jambavan is confirmed by the Vedanta Sutra, wherein the Supreme Lord is declared to be the source of everything. Jambavan identified Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality, Lord Vishnu. My dear Lord, you are the creator of the creators of the universal affairs. This statement is very instructive to the ordinary man, who is amazed by the activities of a person with an exceptional brain. The ordinary man is surprised to see the inventions of a great scientist, but the statement of Jambavan confirms that although a scientist may be a creator of many wonderful things, Krishna is the creator of the scientist. He is not only the creator of the scientist, but of millions and trillions all over the universe. Jambavan said further, you are not only creator of the creator, but you are also creator of the material elements which are manipulated by the so-called creators. So sometimes this is very difficult for envious atheists or scientists to understand. They think, well, my brain is so great, yet I cannot fathom that, it's just like, when Lord Brahma tries to pull a fast one on Krishna, he's the creator of the universe. He's created all the universes and all the things in the universe, and he is the father. He's considered the father of the universe. But yet he is bewildered by Krishna as a little boy, where he basically, all his Vishnu murtis take the plate, he expands himself into all these different cowherd boys and cows, and then Lord Brahma comes back and is like, what happened to all the cows and cowherd boys I took away? And he's just like, couldn't figure it out. And then even to come and see that he's just one little Lord Brahma in a sea of multiple Lord Brahmas, some with millions of heads. He has 4 heads, And so this is something it just blows our mind. We can't even wrap our brain around it. And it makes an envious scientist, one who thinks he knows it all, because he knows quite a bit compared to the average man. He knows a lot about the material universe. When you try to tell them that and tell them that there is a creator, a source of all, not just a creator of this universe, but a creator of the universe, and a source of all things. And that is something we cannot wrap our little infinite brain, which has so many defects, around. So we said, Jambavan said further, you are not only creator of the creator, but you are also creator of the material elements which are manipulated by the so-called creators. He's also the source of all the material elements too. Scientists utilize the physical elements of laws of material nature and do something wonderful, but actually such laws and elements are also the creation of Krishna. This is actual scientific understanding. Less intelligent men do not try to understand who created this brain of the scientist. They are simply satisfied by seeing the wonderful creation or invention of the scientist. Jambavan continued, my dear Lord, the time factor which combines all the physical elements is also your representative. You are the supreme time factor in which all creation takes place, is maintained, and is finally annihilated. And not only the physical elements and the time factors, but also the persons who manipulate the ingredients and advantages of creation are part and parcel of you. The living entity is not, therefore, an independent creator. So this is something very important. We often, this is our sickness in this world. We want to be independent. We want to think that I've done this, I've created this. But, even if somebody has created something amazing, and there's been a lot of amazing creations, they didn't create the elements that came together like a skyscraper. They didn't create the metal and the glass, and they didn't create these are the sand that was that became the glass. They may have created the glass, but they may have taken the elements and mixed them up and figured out how to do that, but they didn't create the actual elements. And nor can they. Nobody can. There's no way to do that. All scientists can do is just take what's already existing, it's already been created, and mix it around and create new things from it. But even that ability, the intelligence is also from Krishna. Everything is from Krishna. Jambavan continued, my dear Lord, the time factor. Okay, so let's see, we read that. The living entity, by studying all factors in the right perspective, one could see that you are the supreme controller and Lord of everything. My dear Lord, I can therefore understand that you are the same personality of Godhead whom I worship as Lord Ramachandra. My Lord Ramachandra wanted to construct a bridge over the ocean, and I saw personally how the ocean became agitated simply by my Lord's glancing over it. And when the whole ocean became agitated, the living entities like the whales, alligators, and timingila fish all became perturbed. The timingila fish in the ocean can swallow big aquatics like whales in one gulp. In this way, the ocean was forced to give way and allow Ramachandra to cross to the island known as Lanka, now supposed to be Ceylon. Actually, it's also not from that was from the British time, right? And then now it's called Sri Lanka. The construction of the bridge over the ocean from Cape Comorin to Ceylon is still well known to everyone. After the construction of the bridge, the fire was set all over the kingdom of Ravana. During the fighting with Ravana, each and every part of Ravana's limbs was slashed and cut into pieces by your sharp arrows, and his head fell to the face of the earth. Now I can understand that you are none other than my Lord Ramachandra. No one else has such immeasurable strength. No one else could defeat me in this way. So Lord Ramachandra, of course, was part of this construction. He had these huge boulders, and he made them, he was like basically telling the ocean that, and the ocean was like, no, but then Lord Ramachandra did, started creating disturbance, and the ocean got scared. So they had these rocks, and by the power of the Supreme Lord, they were able to float. I mean, these giant boulders, right? Like a bridge across from India, from East India to Sri Lanka. And now they've even excavated this. I had this discussion once with a coworker, and he was like, oh, it's just a sandbar. But they've now found that actually the location of the just perfectly lined geometrically. The boulders eventually sunk to the bottom of the ocean after Lord Ramachandra left, after it had its purpose of, helping the armies go across to fight against Ravana. And so that bridge is still there. It's still there. It's under sand, of course, but it's not a sandbar. It's an actual bridge that was created by Lord Ramachandra. But see that, my friend was a pretty intelligent kind of guy, but he was an atheist also. So he also had that sort of enviousness of, no, there's no way that could possibly be true. That's just a sandbar. Lord Krishna became satisfied by the prayers and statements of Jambavan, and to mitigate the pains of his body, he began to smear the lotus palm of his hand all over the body of Jambavan. Jambavan at once felt relieved from the fatigue of the great fight. Lord Krishna then addressed him as King Jambavan, because he and not the lion was actually the king of the forest. With his naked hand, without a weapon, Jambavan had killed the lion. Krishna informed Jambavan that he had come to him to ask for the syamataka jewel, because since the syamataka jewel had been stolen, his name had been defamed by the less intelligent. Krishna plainly informed him that he had come there to ask him for the jewel in order to be free from this defamation. Jambavan understood the whole situation, and to satisfy the Lord, he not only immediately delivered the syamataka jewel, but also brought his daughter Jambavati, who was of marriageable age, and presented her to Lord Krishna. So he gave his daughter in marriage to the best husband you could have, Lord Krishna. And so that's a devotee. Once they understand the situation, they're just like, they understood who they're dealing with. Of course, everything, it belongs to you anyway. The episode of Jambavati's marriage with Krishna and the delivery of the jewel known as Syamataka was finished within the mountain cave. Although the fighting between Krishna and Jambavan went on for 28 days, the inhabitants of Dwarka waited outside the tunnel for 12 days. And after that, they decided that something undesirable must have happened. They could not understand what had actually happened for certain, and being very sorry and tired, they had returned to the city of Dwarka. All the members of the family, namely the mother of Krishna, Devaki, his father Vasudeva, and his chief wife Rukmini, along with all other friends, relatives, and residents of the palace, became very sorry when the citizens returned home without Krishna. Because of their natural affection for Krishna, they began to call Satyajit ill names, for he was the cause of Krishna's disappearance. They went to worship the goddess Chandrabhaga, praying for the return of Krishna. The goddess was satisfied by the prayers of the citizens of Dwarka, and she immediately offered them her benediction. So, a very prime example of like having the opportunity to serve Krishna. And King Satyajit, he had the opportunity, but he not only did not engage in the service of Krishna, but he created this great problem, of defaming Krishna, of been creating an offense. So immediately people are turning on him, right? So he's like, what was once really great, he doesn't have the jewel, his brother's dead, everyone hates him, and probably the king of the sun god probably would have been disappointed with him too. The goddess was satisfied by the prayers of the citizens of Dwarka. So people, of course, if they're praying to, demigoddesses, of course, for the well-being of Krishna, then it's different than, trying to pray for the well-being of yourself. So just like in the cases of Rukmini, who prayed to goddess Durga, to the gopis who prayed to goddess Katyayani, who is also goddess Durga, and Chandrabhaga, which I believe is also goddess Durga, another name. They all were praying to these demigoddesses for Krishna, which is good. Simultaneously, Krishna appeared on the scene, accompanied by his new wife Jambavati, and all the inhabitants of Dwarka and relatives of Krishna became joyful. The inhabitants of Dwarka became as joyful as someone receiving a dear relative back from the dead. The inhabitants of Dwarka had concluded that Krishna had been put into great difficulties due to the fighting. Therefore, they had become almost hopeless of his return. But when they saw that Krishna had actually returned, not alone but with the new wife Jambavati, they immediately performed another celebration ceremony. King Ugrasena then called for a meeting of all important kings and chiefs. He also invited Satyajit, and Krishna explained before the whole assembly the incident of the recovery of the jewel from Jambavan. Krishna wanted to return the valuable jewel to King Satyajit. So it's really nice, Krishna's giving him another opportunity. So let me give this back to you, and we'll see what you do with it, right? Satyajit, however, became ashamed because he had unnecessarily defamed Krishna. So he has some intelligence. So Krishna's given him enough intelligence to realize he's made a big, big mistake and he needs to fix it up right away. He accepted the jewel in his hands, but he remained silent, bending his head downwards, and without speaking anything in the assembly of the kings and chiefs, he returned home with the jewel. Then he thought about how he could clear himself from the abominable action he had performed by defaming Krishna. He was conscious that he had offended Krishna very grievously, and that he had to find a remedial measure so that Krishna would again be pleased with him. So the devotee, we're not perfect, and devotees are not perfect, but we do stupid things all the time, making mistakes, making offenses, but we have enough intelligence to know that we need to find a way to please our spiritual master and to please Krishna if we've made an offense, and to beg for forgiveness if we've screwed up. King Satyajit was eager to get relief from the anxiety he had foolishly created due to being attracted by a material thing. That summarizes the whole story right there, right? You basically end up being fool number one. People in this material world, they're so attracted by the material glamour, that they end up getting kicked in the face over and over and over again by Maya Devi, and they just don't get it. They're just a fool. It's like this said, summarized like Bhaktivedanta says, like the ass, the donkey who just works really, really hard to get a little bit of grass and sex from the she donkey, and he just how is he rewarded? The she donkey continuously kicks him in the face when he tries to approach for sex. So this is, this is exactly how material life is. Get maybe a little bit of grass, and then we get consistently kicked in the face. Satyajit was truly afflicted by the offense he had committed toward Krishna, and he sincerely wanted to rectify it. From within, Krishna gave him good intelligence. So, because, the devotee, if he's really feeling sorry for what he did, and he's trying to find some way to fix it, Krishna will give the devotee the intelligence. If you take that step down to the humility level, Krishna will tell you what you need to know. So Satyajit decided to hand over to Krishna both the jewel and his beautiful daughter Satyabhama. There was no alternative for mitigating the situation, and therefore he arranged the marriage ceremony of Krishna and his beautiful daughter. He gave in charity both the jewel and his daughter to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Satyabhama was so beautiful and qualified that Satyajit, in spite of being asked for the hand of Satyabhama by many princes, was waiting to find a suitable son-in-law. By the grace of Krishna, he decided to hand his daughter over to him. It's the ultimate suitable son-in-law. It's like very smart. Lord Krishna, being pleased upon Satyajit, informed him that he did not have any need of the syamataka jewel. It is better to let it remain in the temple as you have kept it. He said, and every one of us will derive benefit from the jewel, because the jewel's presence in the city of Dwarka, there will be no more famine or disturbances created by pestilence, or excessive heat and cold. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the second volume, first chapter of Krishna, the story of the syamataka jewel. So, there's a new story, and I think we're going to leave it there. The next story is the killing of Satyajit and Shatandanva. And it seems like a very exciting story, but I think we will leave that for the next time. Thank you very much. Let's chant.